Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Hoops and Football. I am Shannon. As you can probably still hear my voice, I am still slightly getting over the cold or the flu, whatever the hell it was that I had over the weekend, but I'm getting better. So, today's video will be about three players I think we should try and we take from other clubs. Obviously with the team very young, also with players like Toby Nankervis, Tom Lynch, Dion Prestia, those boys, who have been around for the dynasty, are aging. We might not even have Lynch next year. I'm hoping we do. Who knows? Dion Prestia might hang up the boots as well. What's name got left in him? Maybe a year or two. He's starting to look a bit sore from games these days. And obviously Tassie's coming in. He might want to go over there for like a year or two, and kind of like help develop the program over there. So I've sort of gone into positions of needs, and probably a bit of rumours that we've all been hearing through the AFL media as well. A couple, maybe a local just from my area where I would love to get him across. So, the first one is I'll start off with Henry Smith from the Brisbane Lions. So I watched the Richmond round 3 VFL game against Brisbane, and he played, and I'm pretty confident. I've gone over his stats. He had, I think it was 28 disposals and kicked 3 goals and had 32 hitouts as a ruckman. He's 202 centimetres. He's only 22. So he does match our age profile. So he's a little bit older. He's been around Brisbane, so he's been in that winning pedigree club. So he understands what it is to be a professional, how to be serious. So he could probably bring a bit of leadership. Look, he doesn't have to go into the system straight away. I don't know his contract ways. I don't know. He's a South Australian boy, so that, who knows, he might decide to go back to South Australia. But my thought behind of why getting Smith over to Richmond is he's a big boy. He seems to be quite mobile. He gets around. He can kick a goal, which, as we know, Nang does as well. Very good overhead mark. So he's played 4 games, so he's had a bit of taste of the AFL. He seems to be dominating in their VFL squad. And the idea would be to have him learn off Nankervis before Nate goes. So maybe you do what you were doing with Samson Ryan. You give him a couple of games, 3-4 games per year, maybe even 6. So you can rest Nank every couple of weeks, coming into next year probably. And then when Nate retires, then wants to go to Tassie. Then you've got Henry Smith there, who's been around in our system for 2 years. So he's aged and he's got that chance to mature his body. He's 3 years into it, and they say most ruckmen take 5 years. So this then allows Smith to get a chance to build his body a bit more, learn our system, learn off Nankervis. I'm pretty sure our ruckman coach is still Avan, so Avan's still there as well to teach him as well. So it could be a smooth transition. One ruck goes out, one ruck comes in. And I'm not against trying something like that. Like, I don't know if it would cost much. It could, because he's behind the Big O over in Brisbane, and Big O doesn't seem to ever play a bad game. And I think Big O's still quite young as well. So, from what I heard, one time I brought it up, I think it was over the Big Tuggy footy cast, they said that Brisbane was pretty keen on him and they wouldn't let him go, from the rumours they've heard. So, it can't hurt to ask the question, to maybe see if they're willing to let him go, and maybe a future second round pick. Like a lot of the boys say, it's you don't get a ruckman at a draft very often. You just draft, like Cooper Duff-Tytler is the ruckman in that draft. You guaranteed that he's going to be successful. It still takes ruckman 3 or 4 years. So maybe by the time we get him a couple of years into our system, he's going to be 5 years into the system. He might be ready to go straight into the system and start playing. So, look, that is just one of the... my microphone's all over here. Hopefully you guys could hear me that time. Hopefully that you guys could hear me, but that's just one of the players I think we should definitely go after. Alright, so the second player, I've probably put my bit of thought into it as well, is Matt Rowell from the Gold Coast Suns. He's 23, 180 centimetres. He's a bit of a unicorn. Probably kind of helps in a way. He has that... Now, I'm not sure if he is... I've never looked at his combine stats, so I'm not sure if he's one of those players that can just burst out at high speed. Now, when he played Richmond, round 6, he did show that pace where he could get the ball out of the contest, run and burst. But that just could be a high burn pace, sort of similar to what Sammy Lawler does. So I went with him, 23. Sorry, he's only he's 5 years into the system. He's understanding. He's coming from Gold Coast, so he's been with Hardwick, so he kind of understand. He probably knows what our culture's like as a club, and he's going to get better. I think a combination of I say Sonzi, but who knows with Sonzi right now. As much as I would love for Sonzi to be playing. Sammy Lawler, Taj Holton, Josh Smiley, and Matt Rowell as your midfield. It is a 3 big boys in the middle. Now, Rowell's not the tallest, but he's built like a brick shithouse. And then you have Taj Holton with him as well. So, quite good. He can go forward and kick some goals. He's averaging he's above average this season in disposals. He's had 24 disposals. He's kicked a couple of goals. His tackles. He's an elite tackler, so that's probably a good one. He's an elite clearance player. They're both at tackle 7.4 total clearance. His clearances per game is 7. So that's probably something we could really use. Considering the last 2 games. So Richmond Richmond versus Essendon, Richmond versus North Melbourne. I think just between those 2 games, we've lost the total clearances. I think overall by something like 35 to 40. Because last week against Essendon, we lost by 22 total clearances. So he can mitigate that in the middle as well. That then allows you to send Timmy Taranto to forward. As we can see, he's starting to kick goals more, and he's played that role before. He did it over at the Giants, so why can't he do it in this one? Now, Matty Rowell is a Vic boy, so you don't see why he wouldn't go back there. What would you give up for him? This is a good one. Look, Gold Coast would probably ask for pick 2. And maybe even pick 2 and 3. He could be given. He would be asking the same price as a Harley Reid, and a Zach Butters, who are 2 players that probably are gonna who if they leave, and they do, not guaranteed any of them are gonna leave. They will ask. Probably will all be asked for at least 2 first-round picks. Whether that's going to be the 2 picks in this year's draft, so pick 2 and 3, which is what we have right now, North Melbourne's one and ours. Or could you offer Gold Coast, we'll give you pick 3 or 2, and then you can pick up a Will Dersma if he's still available. If the Oscar Allen deal doesn't go through, which still confuses me with the Oscar Allen one, how, Tom DeConey, if he goes to St Kilda, Carlton's going to get pick 8, and then somehow Oscar Allen's going to got pick 2. So I think it's a bit of favouritism from the AFL, trying to fix West Coast's fuck-ups. So maybe you can offer him one pick in this year's first round, and then you give him a pick for next year's first round. It's probably hard with Gold Coast because they've got a lot of canny players coming in. So I'm not sure if they're going to want high-end picks, or are they going to want a lot of low-end picks just for the numbers, and they're still going to get those high picks anyway. So that's going to be a bit of a battle you have to play with as well. So maybe you need to trade out a first round and get multiple late picks to then trade them away as an asset as well. But yeah, Matty Rowell would be a great for that high burst, high power. Loves a tackle, probably brings up our tackle count as well, where we tend to be quite low in our tackle count. So if you think of those, just the 2 stats there, clearances and tackle, he's elite in both of them. And it's actually something we struggle in a lot in our team. So you can look over the whole entire year, and I know we're building a team, but if we struggle in them now, when Sammy Lawler, and he's a tackling machine, and he's quite good at clearances in his junior days. So, and Taj Holton's quite good at clearances as well. So if you look at that, when those players hit their prime in the next, say, 2 years, so give Sammy Lawler and Taj Holton a proper preseason going into next year with a Matt Rowell, you're not going to be able to leave the centre because they're all just going to tackle you. And then you're going to catch them once they get the ball. And then Matt Rowell loves a stiff arm. So does Sammy Lawler. Both love a stiff arm. And Taj Holton he's got a bit of, dancing feet. He spins around a lot. You can't catch him. So that's just another player that I definitely think we should target. I haven't heard many things about it, that Richmond are on him, or he's keen on Richmond. I don't have that. I don't get that news. I don't get any whispers. This is all just who I think would fit the club by their game style and their age as well. Like, I'm trying not to hit people that are in the 25, 26 time, because probably by the time we come around to our time to be in the flags, they're probably going to be pushing in their 30s, and they may want to chase sooner to get a flag rather than come back to a rebuild. So I don't want to I'm not trying to find players that are in a rebuild stage, sort of in an older age bracket, to come back to a rebuild stage. I don't mind going after a player that's younger in a rebuild club, coming back to another rebuild club, because then they kind of understand they're not going to, I went from winning to now losing every game. So I don't want that kind of mentality to come across to us. Hey, and the next one will be Harley Reid. Now, Harley Reid is a country Vic boy like myself. I'm from Kyabram. He is from Tony. So quite sick him around when he's quite younger. Definitely, I think he will become to Victoria, whether it's this year or next year. The reports are, was it Geelong, Richmond, Essendon? Now, I think it's hard for Geelong right now. I don't think they have the draft capital to get him. With the whole entire thing of Essendon is in the rebuild stage, they're going to ask for as many first round picks as they possibly can get. So I don't think this year. And they still could be. He could request to go there. And they might have to give up. What is it now? You can trade 2 years into the future. So you maybe they ask, give us this year's first round pick, next year's first round pick, this year's second round, and and take 4 picks off them, 2 firsts and 2 seconds. In equivalent, kind of similar to what they do in the NBA, where you give up multiple first round picks. Look, it takes them completely out of the draft, but it's just a question: is Harley Reid that type of player where you're willing to not go into the next couple of years of drafts, where, as we all know, a lot are academy and NGA heavy, and father and sons are coming up in the next few years, and then also Tassie stepping into the system as well. So, kind of why I think if he's going to go this year, he's going to go towards like an Essendon or a Richmond. Because West Coast will probably want to get as many young draft picks in now before Tassie comes in and takes over. Like, I think it's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11 in 27. So, and they'll probably have access to 26 as well. So, I can see the whole point of view why they would do it that way. Look, he's got the Kyabram and that Tony area has quite a history with Richmond, as through Kane Pettifar, Brett Delidio. So, look, well, we know he might have spoke to them and he might like the idea of a bit of history, good culture. He's got a lot of Richmond ex-teammates up at the West Coast in Graham and Baker. And for all we know, he may have asked the question. Look, it's pretty hard to say he would, because you think that might give away a bit of an answer. With those boys up there trying to build something, they may not like that, but it could just be a friendly conversation about it. Look, what's the culture like? What's the club like? What's the leadership there as players and the club, and how are they? Now we've got Ben Serpelin. They might feel better with with a trainer that's a bit more appropriate, might help him a bit better with his fitness, because he seems maybe a little bit unfit this year compared to what he was last year. Look, and Punt Road's a pretty big club to go play for. Look, he plays for West Coast, but like what's Essendon, 40-something thousand members. Richmond's at like 90-something, so maybe he wants to go to and the MCG will be his home ground. So that's another good selling point we have to sell to him. MCG versus Marvel. Do you want to be playing under the roof every single time, or do you want to be at the big old loud house at Richmond? And playing in front of the Punt Road end, where you get averaging like something like 49,000. Round 1, 80-something. Big games like Richmond and Essendon, you get 70 plus every week nearly. So I would like a Harley Reid. He's 187 centimetres, so he's slightly shorter than Sammy Lawler. They both play a very similar game, but I'm not against that, because they both are very good. Both can go forward. Both are really good overhead marks. Both are good at the don't argue. Both love a tackle. Probably more Sammy Lawler than Harley Reid, but. And he's pretty good at clearances. So his average at clearances is 2.8. His tackles are 2.7. So look, disposals are 16. Look, he's a little bit low from this year than he was last year. Look, it could just be the second year blues. I'm pretty sure Delidio was saying that on the Footy and Friends podcast. He was saying like even he got in his second year, he had second year blues, where you just everyone knows who you are now, so they put more attention into you. And look, and that's the other thing that's been reported. He's pretty pissed off about the attention he's been getting from players, and he feels like the club hasn't had to ask the leaders to stand up and protect him. Look, and you're going to have that with Richmond. Like we saw what James Sicily did to Morris Rowley Jr. against the Hawthorn game, Taranto came straight up and just went, bang! I didn't hit him. I shoved him. Obviously, Sicily flopped on 50 metres, but that's Timmy Taranto as a leader, who's a I'm pretty sure he's vice captain, or he's in the leadership group, who was pretty much waving the flag for Richmond and saying, hey, you're not going to do this to my young fella. That's just not how it works. Not over at my club. So, Nank's the same. Lynchy's the same. We all know Lynchy can be quite fiery. Look, and if he signs on, it's another year of another leadership. Darren Presti is there. Jay and Short isn't afraid of a scuffle. Noel Bolter. Now, obviously that Noel Bolter's probably going to stay out of him for quite some time. Obviously with the incident went down, but Nick Phillostone's there. Nathan Broad's there, and as we saw what Broady was like when Samuel Lawler came in, he took him under his wing and put him in his house for a couple of weeks. So look, probably very similar thing. Then it comes down to, if he does say nominate Richmond, what are you willing to give up? Some people aren't willing to give up pick 2 and 3. That's what it takes. Look, I would prefer to do the whole give up pick 2. So they're saying they're going to get pick 2 anyway from Oscar Allen leaving. So you give him pick 3. That means they'll have pick 1, 2, and 3, which means they have the pick of the draft to pick anyone they want. They can go Will Dersman and Cooper Duff-Tutler with their first 2 picks, and then just pick a WA boy or a Dylan Sharp from South Australia, and you're going to build you can build a core for West Coast there. The question comes down to, with us getting a father and sons coming up in the future, do you then just give up, pick 2 and 3 for this year and ask for them for late picks? Because we have a father and son coming in this year. We have an NGA and a father and son the following couple of years. We've got a bunch of them coming up in the next few years. So do you go, look, we're willing to give you pick 2 and 3 this year's draft for Harley Reid, but in return for giving you such high draft picks now before the big year comes in with all the Tassie stuff, can you give us a pick, a 4 and a pick 4 and a pick fourth rounder and a third rounder and maybe a second rounder if they have one, and then next year can you give us a 4th rounder as well, and a 3rd rounder just for the points? Because the idea is we're still trying to build for the future with draft, and obviously Harley Reid comes in and he's helping build the future because he matches the same age as Richmond's pretty much all we drafted in last year. He's only 1 year ahead. He's played against most of them anyway when they were under 8 and when they were playing in there as well, playing at 17 against him when he was in his last year. So he has a relationship with Samuel Lawler, which means he probably has a relationship with Taj. He probably has a relationship with Smiley. Some of those other boys there as well, and probably a Jonty Fall as well. So, and he can show, and as we know, we have good leaders, we have good coaching, good development. We've actually taken away our midfield coach in Zach Zeeble to help create a development system that's even more. So, will he look at that and go, well, they've got a better developing system as well, and they're going to take me along and build me up as we go. So that's another aspect of you could see it that way to sell him coming in. I am of the opinion of you just give up pick 2 and 3 for Harley Reid. He's just that rare of a talent, and you just look at this year as a second year Blues, and I'm going to stick with it as a second year Blues. You saw he did in his first year. I think he'll come in with a club that's already showing more than what we expected. You look at their Fox Footy rating. We got a B+ in this year already so far. Won 3 games. We're told we weren't going to win any. He's just won his first game for this year. Do you want to go to Essendon where all their players are being injured? You don't know whether they are rebuilding or they're not rebuilding. They don't seem to want to tell us exactly what they're doing. They say, oh, we're young. Okay, you're young. Well, what are you doing? Do you want to play finals or are you rebuilding? Well, there's no in between. We told you, boom, we're selling the house. We're rebuilding from scratch. Ooze has come in. Ooze has a very good skills of developing with young players. He seems to build a bit of a bond. So could Harley Reid see that as well as a coach? Oh, cool. Adam Uze. He seems to have a good relationship with all of his players, and I love that idea and that connection. So bring him at the moment. Another selling point we have there for Harley Reid. Look, some of you guys, I don't have any connections to the club. I don't have any connections to players. I don't hear any whispers. I'm only going off what I've heard on the news, on the AFL stuff, what other people say. And I'm only going off and giving you my opinion on what I think we should do for any of these players that I've suggested in today's video. But if you guys could, if you have any players that you suggest you would like me to make a video about and go do some research and see what we can get, if we could get them, please leave it in the comments below. As well as please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. And I hope you guys liked today's video, because I kind of went out of my way a bit more this time to, instead of just reviewing things that I see after a game, I went into with, look, we're in the rebuild stage. Maybe it's time for me to look a bit of research and look at some key aspects in our team that's going to be going away by age, just by the default of rebuild, and who we should bring in. And these are just 3 that came to my mind from games that I've seen previously and watched, and I thought that's a good player. He seems to be doing quite well, and then this is where I've gone with it. So, all right, guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I really do. Until next time, guys, don't forget, stay safe and go Tigers.